judge, you have to do this. Okay. I'm Bill Cahill. I've been asked to be the master of ceremonies tonight, probably because George and I worked in the courthouse for 7 years and argued for 7 years, and I really admire what he did. We're going to make this concise to the point, and so you won't hear me talking much. I'm supposed to just introduce people, and one of the really special people I've known in this profession, Louise Rennie, is going to start off tonight and do whatever she wants to say about George. Louise?
So glad to see so many of you and hope we'll have a little chance to visit more. As I walked in the room and I saw everybody, I thought, oh, what a special group of people. Mayor Lee, this is a really special group of people, as I'm sure you and the supervisors all know. And as I thought about, over the years, what all you have met, it isn't that you are just nice, and it isn't that you're just great lawyers, but you're both nice and great lawyers, and that's not an oxymoron. Not at all. And I must say, as I think about the qualities that have gone in to making the work that you do so great, really, for the city, certainly, one of the absolute role models is and has always been George Wong. Who his wife and his beautiful daughters, who I knew when they were just little. I really don't know what the city's going to do without your dad. And I certainly hope that we'll find some way, Mary and others, to take advantage of your great talents, George, because nice, a great mentor to young people. When I think back of the number of lawyers that George mentored as they were first starting out and how developed they became in their own careers, that's a special talent, George. It's one that comes from the heart, and you're a person with a great big heart. Retirement dinner. The fact that you're here, the fact that the mayor is here, that makes it not one of the run-of-the-mill retirement dinners. Because we have George Wong, outstanding city attorney. We have Mayor Lee, certainly not one of the mill mayors. I mean, I remember Mayor Lee when he was suing the city. But you know what? We were all better for it. Because one of the first cases I met Mayor Lee was when I had just become city attorney, was when he was suing the city to open up the doors of the police and the fire department to women and people of color, and really make them first-rate public safety departments, which of course they are. So we don't have just a run-of-the-mill mayor. We have a great mayor who's done an outstanding job, and I think it's only fitting that a great mayor who's doing an outstanding job should be here to give his respects to a great city attorney who has done such a great job all these years for the city and county in San Francisco, George Wong. So Mayor Lee, let me turn over the microphone to you with great pleasure.
first of all, I want to thank Louise Rennie as well. I mean, I can't think of someone more San Franciscan to have headed up our whole Laguna Honda effort and continues to do a wonderful job in raising funds and keeping that institution open for everybody. Thank you, Louise, for your wonderful years. George and I have known each other for quite some time, and you know, this is of course a very great time for him, but also probably a sad time for all of us because we've used George very well in the past years. But I want to let you know that he was one of the people that actually convinced me to take the toughest job I ever had in the city. That was the Department of Public Works. And I know a lot of you are here tonight. I see Riskin and others here because the Public Works Department has greatly benefited from George's counsel, his defense, his advocacy, and his caution. And we've learned a lot from him. And I want to just thank George for 34 wonderful years of service. For your wife for being very patient with George because he would come back with the work on his head and on his heart and a lot of frustration the city gives, but then it also in return does great things. And there's a lot of great things in George's portfolio. And I have to add my chapters in there as well because without his counsel, there would be a lot of other trouble that we would be getting into as department heads. And all of you know that as well. He's given good advice. By the way, George, there was a special engineering company that wanted to deliver a cake to you, but that cake did not pass the bomb squad.
Thank you, Ed.
Anyway, he comforted me because at that time it was Willie Brown who was, he didn't ask me to be department head for Public Works. He said, you're going over there. So I said to George, what do you think? I mean, Public Works is so complicated. There's so much stuff going on. It's a very litigious department. And George calmed me down. He says, we'll take care of you. We've got you left and right. We got good people over there. You just have to get to know them, and then you'll do well. And by the way, we got the city attorney's office will back you up on your decisions. And we'll try to give you fair warning on bad decisions that you'll make as well. And there were a few bad decisions that we made, decisions that could have been made better, but always George was there, the litigation team was there, the public contracting division was always there, helping us along and making sure that we did things right. And that he also trained well the upcoming attorneys in that whole unit to do just as well and carry out his wonderful counsel and the way he's done business in the city. So I have directly benefited from George's service. I want to say that in front of you because this city has been better off because of his work, because of the care, the love that he has for the city, because you don't do this job for 34 years without not only caring about the departments that you serve, but ultimately, as Louise knows and as Judge Cahill knows, you got to really love the city to spend this many years. You got to love the way it works, the diversity of people it has. You got to even love the people that you sue or the people sue you. Because oftentimes we have those disputes and we're trying to get out of it. And sometimes it's our systems that don't let us out in a way in which we like to avoid litigation. But when we're there and when we have to face down either a bad performing entity or some bad decisions, or we have to face up to a challenge, I've always felt very comfortable that we have city attorneys like George and others in the city attorney's office that have stepped up and made it comfortable to us. And I think that's a tribute not only to Dennis Herrera, it's also a tribute to the legacy that Louise had left behind for many, many years. George, on behalf of the city, we have a special proclamation to present tonight. And this is one of those that maybe you didn't think you would ever see. And it's coming from all of us in the city. And it's got a lot of whereases. There's all of the names of the mayors that you served, and the Department of Public Works works this course here, as well as the significant projects that you've been associated with, that you've led, that you've helped avoid a lot of pitfalls. But ultimately, it is in celebration of your wonderful years of service that I, as the Mayor of San Francisco, in recognition of over 3 decades of service to the citizens of San Francisco, and wishing you well, a well-deserved and fruitful retirement, do hereby declare June 15th, 2011 as George Wong Day in San Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Louise. Really special people who I got to know back when I was a public servant. The reason I'm here is that when I was a judge, I thought that public service was an honor. It was a calling. Being a judge was a calling. I think George fits this, and the reason I think I've been asked to be here is that he and I got to know each other for 7 years, not the way you all know him, but because I was asked by the judges to be in charge of building the courthouse, and he was assigned to be the lawyer. So I first met him. This won't take long. But I first met him in the 1990s. I don't know if you represent. I represented an engineering firm. He represented the city. My client was really grumpy with the city when it was over, but I think George made some good points even back then. So I was put on the courthouse construction committee. I was a construction lawyer, so the judges thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I knew what I was doing. George didn't always agree. I thought, with the arrogance of the judiciary and the arrogance of being a downtown civil lawyer, that I knew what I was doing. And I was an amateur compared to George and all the projects he's ever done. It took me years to realize that, but now I've come to realize that I was kind of not as good as I thought I was, George. You were great. But anyway, when I first started, I learned pretty quick that George didn't care about my construction and judge job. He wanted the courthouse built properly. He wanted the project done right, and he wanted the public funds spent properly. George really, like this, what was said about George caring about public funds, is absolutely right. I even saw a memo that Terry Stewart gave me recently where George was complaining about judges not using the public funds right in supporting the courthouse. And I read that and I thought, that makes a good point. I'm glad I didn't see it at the time, but I really did. I thought at the start of the project, partnering with the contractor was good. George didn't quite think so. I thought that no change orders were good. George agreed with that. I thought meeting weekly with the contractor was a good idea. George put up with that for a while, and then somehow it stopped. I thought that it was during the project was behind. It was a good idea for me and another judge to meet with the executives of the contractors. You've all heard George probably say this. He said, "Bullshit, Judge."
Sounds better than that.
I thought that when it rained, we should get time extensions. And I said, we should do that. George was appalled. He said, let the contractor do his job. This went on for 7 years. However, we had an argument one time in my chambers. We had an argument even one time about concurrent cause of all things in front of the presiding judge in his chambers. And the presiding judge at that time, Judge Shea, looked at both of us and said, go out in the hall and work this out. So we went out in the hall, we worked it out like I used to do when I was a lawyer. But the project, George and I hope became friends. I became friends with him, and I think he has with me. I remember asking him one time after one of these discussions, I always found that confrontation with integrity and leads to good friendships. And I remember asking George about him and his family, and he came in with pictures of him. I think you were Fiji, right? And he told about his family and how his mother would send over one of his his family members a year to the United States to learn and get educated, and they've all been major successes, as is George. He showed me pictures of him running around, and I guess they didn't have shoes all the time, and now George has done everything that I admire in people. So the courthouse ended with it being done on time and under budget, mostly thanks to George. And I remember at the end of my relation, we were in a mediation at the end of the case, and I remember just thinking about how much I respected his integrity, his professionalism, his stubbornness, and it just almost unmatched my profession. I'm here, I travel, well, you don't need to hear about me, but I would not come here with many people in my life. I think those words, integrity, humble, professional, stubborn, still describe George in my eyes. George, I'm honored to know you. I'm honored to have been asked by City Attorney's Office to come here tonight. And I really, really, really wish you weren't quitting. I'll miss you already. Anyway, so good. It was integrity is about the best thing I can say about anybody. So, way to go, George. Now, State Senator Leland Hughes here. Yes, there it is over here. Okay.
Senator Yee wasn't able to be here today. First, I wanted to thank Mayor Lee and Lee Running, of course, South Cahill for being here and everyone else. Senator Yee has prepared a lovely plaque, a lovely presentation. He asked that I read some or all of it. I'm going to read as much as I can until
Some of it.
Again, many whereases. Whereas a loyal and dedicated public servant, George Wong, is retiring after 34 years of exemplary service to the city and county of San Francisco, and in recognition thereof, he is deserving of the highest commendation and honors. Senator Lee remarks that he started in 1977 as a deputy city attorney, that he served under the administrations of 8 city mayors, Joseph Alioto, George Moscone, Diane Feinstein, Art Agnos, Frank Jordan, Willie Brown, Gavin Newsom, and now Mayor Lee. Recognizing his service and concluding that Senator Yee takes this opportunity to draw the special attention of the public to George Wong in appreciation of the professional service he has provided to the people of California throughout his career, and extends him sincere best wishes for a future filled with happiness and success. And it's got a member's resolution number 876 dated today.
Let's see what you can for us.
See you outside of the mediation context. Good afternoon, good evening, thank you for being here. Before I say something about George, I do want to say that I'm very grateful to Mayor Lee for being here. I think it's really important for the city and county of San Francisco to recognize George. I think that George has probably saved the city millions and millions of dollars over the last 34 years, so thank you. And I also want to say that I'm really happy to see Louise Rennie. You know, Louise, what you said about this group and about the city attorney's office is absolutely true, but ultimately that's a reflection of you, and you are the one who built that office, and I think you set the bar pretty high for what it means to be an effective city attorney, and so thank you for making that happen. The other thing that I would say is, I was one of those young lawyers that George took the time to mentor, and as a young lawyer, I was assigned to the school district by then City Attorney Louise Rennie, and I just remember just feeling so overwhelmed. And George, for those of you who may not know, at some point actually did work for the school district, and also saved the school district a lot of money. But I just appreciated the way in which he took the time to speak to this young lawyer who didn't really know what he was doing, and the time to talk about his own experience and suggestions about ways in which specific matters should be handled, and just the way in which you emphasize the importance of integrity in making sure that we do take care of the city's interests in every way we can. And it's something that I think I carry with me and has served me in my entire career. And as a former deputy city attorney, I can tell you that it's a lesson that comes in pretty handy on the Board of Supervisors. And on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, and we don't have the budget that the state has, so it's a little more humble and more for that matter what the mayor's office has, but it's actually, it is balanced, so thank you, Mayor Lee, for doing a great job. And on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, this certificate of honor to George Wong for 34 years of dedicated, expert, and exemplary service to the city and county of San Francisco, for serving as the principal lawyer for design and construction contracts, for advising multiple city departments. You will be greatly missed. Thank you, George.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mayor Lee, City Attorney Rennie, Supervisor Campos. Really a pleasure to be here on behalf of the Department of Public Works and maybe on behalf of all the Chapter 6 departments in the city. When I first started this job, someone told me I need to know about Chapter 6. Of course, I had no idea what they were talking about. They said, you need to know about Chapter 6. They said, you need to know George Wong. And George was one of the first people that I got to know when I took the job as Director of Public Works, and I quickly understood why it was so important to know George. I would concur with a lot of the remarks of the previous speakers, particularly the one regarding the stubbornness. I think that one's right, not so much the nice. Right, Andrew? George is a very interesting guy. He's very passionate. He can be very animated, and sometimes that can be a little scary. He's really smart. He's really committed and dedicated, and when he knows he's right, he makes sure that you know that he's right.
Yes, he does.
And sometimes, I'm sure Harlan knows about this, sometimes he would come up and he would talk to you in that quiet voice, and that's when you knew you really needed to pay attention to what he was saying. Because as Mayor Lee said, for those of us who was really there to protect and defend, we knew that he had our back. And even when we didn't always agree with him, sometimes butt heads with him a little bit, there was never a shred of doubt that George had the interests of the city and the taxpayers in mind. He saw it as religion to make sure that every taxpayer dollar was not just well spent, but was properly spent, was done in a way that was transparent and defensible and cost effective. And I concur, I think I literally saved millions and millions of dollars for the city out of his passion and commitment for the city. So it was really a pleasure for me. It was comfort, as Mayor Lee said, he made sure that we stayed out of trouble, stayed out of the courts, stayed out of the newspapers. So it was really a pleasure and an honor to work with George. He has a great team of folks with Cheryl and Louise and others that kind of was the extension of George. Like we had the George Wong family, the Ward family behind him when he was there, knowing that he was looking out for our interests, but most importantly for the interests of the people of San Francisco. So we also don't have the money of the state, or the mayor's office, just a plain. We also wanted to honor George. We have this Department of Public Works certificate of honor, and I won't read all the whereas. Many of them are similar, but I do want to just read the resolved that I, Edward D. Riskin, Director of the Department of Public Works of the City and County of San Francisco, recognize and thank George for his his committed service to the city of San Francisco on this day, the 15th of June, 2011. And I was about to sign this, and of course, before I sign anything, I run it by George to make sure it's okay. And I had to make an addendum. So I just need to read the letter and write it under signatory one of the city's state emerging companies doing business. All the employment and equities and encouraging compliance with basic rights principles. Signed it with this new record.
All right, our next speaker is to honor George and his stubbornness and his integral to PW.
Thank you. I don't think I can follow like my boss and his quickness and his sense of humor, but from the heart, George, we have a little poster that we made with images from a lot of the major capital projects that we held. And for those of you who don't remember, I mean, George has been involved in every major capital project. We are deeply thankful for your leadership, your stubbornness, and really, beyond being a good lawyer, George is ultimately the ultimate PM, the ultimate project manager, who would always say, I know that's not a legal question, it's the right thing to do. And we've all learned a lot from that. We've all saved the city millions of dollars. And, you know, George would just not give the legal advice, would give the proper advice. And for that, we're very, very thankful. So we have this poster that we are going to present to you on behalf of the architects and engineers at DPW and all of the people who work on capital projects. And I'm going to take it back because there's a lot of people who still want to sign it, and then we're going to have it framed and mounted and so on. But thank you, George, so much.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to do this wrong. The sheriff's office is here. Oh, I know.
Something in a bag, and I couldn't find anybody it would belong to, but I haven't tried to see the attorney's office yet. So, first of all, I mean, Joe Sandoval. Is this yours? Is that a she who must be a real deal? Louise? Okay, and secondly, I was capital improvements manager for the sheriff's department for several years. And the last project we had was a very difficult project. And when it was first being formulated, I had a little difficulty convincing people that the bids we were getting were too high. And fortunately, Jim Chang listened to me, and George Wong listened to me. And George put together a very clever contract, and as a result of that contract, the project came in under budget, and when we had a claim against us, the city counterclaimed and prevailed, and the city got $10 million. So thank you. And I have a certificate here of appreciation. It's not from me. It's not from the Sheriff's Department. It's from the General Contractors Association. And it reads as follows. Finally, George Wong is taking a much appreciated retirement from the San Francisco City Attorney's Office. His unethical standards and his dedication to the citizens of the city and county of San Francisco have given us nothing but grief. Our joy knows no bounds.
It's getting better and better. Next, Michael Carlin, the San Francisco Utilities Commission is here. Oh, I know you.
Hey, Connor, how are you? It's good to see you. I've had a case for 10 years. I know, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I was told I was going to speak last night at the end of the closed session at our commission. I promptly forgot until I got here, so I don't have anything for you, George. We're an enterprise department, but we're trying to cut back. So. It's a good thing that you can see that DPW overhead has not changed a bit. No. But, you know, it's actually nice to see a lot of people, especially from the city attorney's office, in a social setting. Usually I see them in a different kind of setting. And for George and I, we've been spending 2.5 years together on one particular case. Things being settled. It is not the case with the contractor with the whatever, but it's another one. But it's really, I always thought like, oh, it'd be great to be involved in all these cases and stuff like that. And one of my jobs was to become the client for the PUC, and so I spent a lot of time with attorneys, and one of them was George Wong. And George was very interested in mediation because you sit in a room for long periods of time doing nothing. I mean, really doing nothing. And we have these conversations, and things would happen. And I just recall one time in mediation, we were negotiating a particular deal at a particular point, and I finally could tell that George was not happy with me. He was not happy because of what I was doing. But I gotta admit, I respect George a lot. He taught me a lot. You gotta understand that. He really, really cares about what he does. And being the head of the contracts unit at the city attorney's office, the water system improvement program under Harlan Kelly, $4.6 million program, is going so well because of people like George that keeps us out of trouble. And we really do appreciate that, and everybody should appreciate that in the Bay Area. So thank you, George. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're down to Dennis Ferris, Chief Deputy City Attorney, and a friend to many of us, Terry Stewart.
So I want to say, first of all, that Dennis was very, very sorry that he couldn't be here tonight, and so, but I'm funnier than he is, so. But I'm not as funny as the people who already spoke, but I wanted to say, and I wanted to pick up on something that Supervisor Campos mentioned, which is what an incredible mentor George is. And he's not a mentor to some people, even just to young attorneys within the office. He's a mentor to a lot of people. He was a mentor to me as an old attorney within the office, who joined about almost 10 years ago when George had been at the office for 24 years, I think, by then. He also was a volunteer mentor to high school students in a program called School to College that I was involved in that helped inner city kids from San Francisco go to college. And there's really nobody, including Dennis and Jesse and others within the office, that George has not been a mentor to, at least anyone who was open to it. Now, one of the things that I learned from George was a sort of different way of approaching client relations. When I came to the office, I had been in private practice for 20 years, and in private practice you learn that you have to be very nice to the clients. And that say that George has saved the city not millions of dollars, but probably hundreds of millions of dollars, literally, with his passion. And the way that passion manifests itself is an interesting way, but one of them came out in a story that George told me about his work on a particular project for the courthouse, when the courthouse was being built, and the judges were there. And George told me that sometimes you really have to, even the clients that you're most concerned about repercussions, you have to really be blunt with them. And so George gave me this memo that actually he had given to the judges committee who assisted him on the courthouse project. And I'm just going to give you a few phrases from that memo. He was very proud of that memo, by the way. He gave them what he called a blunt assessment, and he told them that things like their judgment was lacking in objectivity, that they were unable to assess the situation properly, that their attempts to manage the project had had disastrous consequences, that they were being taken advantage of by the contractor because of their naivety, they needed to stiffen their backbones, be a little less ignorant of the construction business, stop ignoring George's advice, get out of the contractor's pocket, stop mismanaging the project, and they would thereby stop causing the city to incur millions of dollars in avoidable costs. But seriously, I mean, actually, I didn't have to be funny because George's memo to me was a little funny. But George's passion and his intensity, which he spares no one, not people who might, in a chain of command, seem to be above him, or clients, or Dennis, or Louise, I'm sure. But that same intensity is why we love him so much. He also told the students in the school to college program that they really ought to graduate in engineering. He told me that it worked for his daughters, and that in his culture that your daughters and sons do what you ask them to do, and he hoped the school to college children would do the same. So turning to my official duty on behalf of Dennis, and I don't want this to say anything about our budget because it really is not a great budget, but maybe it's more about our taste. Okay? So the city attorney asked me to present this honorary opinion to George Wong on the occasion, well, it's actually called In the Matter of George K. Wong. Question presented on the occasion of his retirement from service as Deputy City Attorney for San Francisco, is George K. Wong deserving of special recognition and gratitude by his many friends and colleagues in the San Francisco City Attorney's Office? That's the question. Discussion. Whereas George Wong is a lawyer of extraordinary intelligence, expertise, insight, patience, and integrity, who has dedicated his entire legal career to public service through his 34 years of superb work for the San Francisco City Attorney's Office. And whereas George Wong, through his sage advice, guidance, and dedication to our city, shepherded the design and construction of a vast array of public works projects, among them the Southeast Treatment Plant, the DeYoung Museum, the Academy of Sciences, City Hall, the New Main Library, the Civic Center Courthouse, the Asian Art Museum, the Moscone Convention Center, Laguna Honda Hospital, the San Bruno Jail, and many other projects, large and small, all of which have immeasurably enriched the quality of life of the residents of San Francisco and helped San Francisco become the favored destination for visitors from around the world. And whereas George Wong is passionately committed to his clients, to the law, to the quality of life in San Francisco, and to his colleagues in the San Francisco City Attorney's Office. And now for the conclusion. Therefore, it is concluded that I, Dennis J. Herrera, City Attorney of the City and County of San Francisco, do hereby opine that George K. Wong is eminently deserving of special recognition and gratitude by his many friends and colleagues in the San Francisco City Attorney's Office. Approved this 15th day of June 2011. Dennis J. Herrera.
George, everybody's supposed to come on up and this is not on the list.
Trying to get it one down at the end of the table.
I think on that memo, I need to tell you the rest of the story. And the reason I need to tell you the rest of the story is because Louise Green is here, and she was my boss at that, an incredible boss. And Judge Cahill is here, he was in charge of the courthouse construction. He says, now, if you really want to know the rest of the story, I'll tell you this. I wrote this memo on President's Day evening, on a, President's Day, a Monday, and it was a holiday. So I'm writing this memo, single space, 8 pages. I'm just letting my thoughts flow. And then I said to myself, you know what, tomorrow there's a courthouse meeting with the judges. There's about 15 courthouse members committee. And as I'm going to present this to the judges. But before I present to the judges, I should let Louise Rainey know that I'm presenting. Because I'm not just presenting it to the janitor, I'm presenting to 15 judges, right? But the problem is, Louise is so diplomatic, she's so wise, she has a lot better judgment than me. And if I showed her the memo, I know what Louise would say. She'll read the memo and she'll say, oh, George, I know how you feel about this. But there must be some other way you can go to the next step. So what does that mean to me? I said, if Louise said that to me, obviously she's my boss, I have to listen to her. I cannot hand the memo to the judges. And if I don't hand the memo to the judges, it won't have its effect. But then I said to myself, if I give the memo to the judges, what will happen? You know what? They will not get back to Louise. I just know it. They will not show that memo to Louise. Because there's so much criticism about the judges in the memo that I was sure that you will never get back to Louise. So Louise had to be changed. And I sent the memo to the judges without you looking
I
at
do
it.
that all the time, George.
That's a chance I do. And Judge Cahill was, was a great lawyer. Judge Cahill is very humble here today, really. He did a great job in the courthouse. And without Judge Cahill, it would not have been done. When he talks about on budget, on time, a lot of it was because of Judge Cahill. He was not just a judge. He was he was also a construction lawyer. So Judge Cahill knew construction law. I'll tell you one thing I found out tonight. One, I knew living at a party, I knew friends would show, but I didn't know I had so many friends. It's good to retire because people say good things about you. So that's the only chance you get when people say a lot of good things. And I really appreciate all the kind words that all the speakers have said about me. The one thing I would like to do is to introduce my family to you. Let me introduce my wife Cecilia and working for the city for 34 years is a long time. I'll tell you this, I've been married to Cecilia for 39 years. So it's a lot longer than the 34 years that I've been with the city. And it's been good 39 years. I really appreciate having Cecilia. Some of you may know my 2 girls because they used to come by the office. I think Louise knows. Louise met them very young. They used to come by and sell clothes shop cookies. So that's a lot of the people in the office knew my 2 girls. And now they're a lot older, as you can see. The older one is Caroline. She's a security manager at Zynga. And Clarissa is a 30th med student. So Clarissa can come back, is able to be here with us today because she flew from Ohio. Not just for this event, but also for a friend's wedding. But anyway. So, the one thing I thought to myself, 34 years have gone by, and it seems only like yesterday. And I really mean that. And I really feel like I'm still 26 years old. And I was about 30 when I met Louise, 32, maybe 31.
I was only a baby.
And Louise made me a team leader. And I said, oh my
it's good stress, and it's very enjoyable. I work with the various departments, the clients. The clients are just not clients, but they're friends now. Most of the people in this room are just not clients, friends. People I know very well. And one thing, they talk about me being passionate and being honest and frugal for the city and all that good stuff. I think that everyone in this room is acts that way for the city. And I think we have the most professional people in this room. And we really have the best of the best in this room. And I really mean it. And if I were to build a house, a project, or if I was another city, if you guys work for me in this city, I would be just in heaven. Because you are the absolute best for the city. And I think whatever has been said about me should be reflected on all of you. I would like to thank all the speakers. There are a lot of speakers who said a lot of kind